So we've all been there, that awkward meeting, the sharp email, the tension rising before anybody said what they really mean. And it's in those moments what separates a great leader from somebody who is walking around like a stress grenade ready to explode. What separates that is the ability to stay calm, clear, and in control of the energy. So in this video, what I wanted to share with you are 5 powerful tools or tips that can help you dissolve conflict and be able to lead through tension like the centered, no-nonsense professional that you are, or at least that you want to be. Now, what I'm going to share, it is a condensed version of a full masterclass that I teach inside my coaching group, Mind Academy, which is for high achievers and professionals who want to lead with more confidence and communicate with more impact. So before we jump into the 5 tools, I want to just very quickly zoom out, because most conflicts, they don't blow up because of the topic, they escalate because of the tone. So before we get into the tips and the tools, there's a couple of things which you really want to consider early on in a conversation or in a meeting. So this is before things have gotten to the point of escalation. And the first one is to establish a sort of positive outset, a positive identity at the beginning of a conversation. So a simple phrase like, "Look, I can see that you're someone who values fairness," that sets up that positive identity right at the very beginning. The second thing that you also want to keep in mind is you want to set the emotional frame. So using a phrase like, can we both agree that this is about understanding, not about blame? These are only small things, but they shape how people are going to show up. They shape how people are going to behave in that interaction. But obviously this video is more about once you're in the heat of it, once the war has begun. And that's the point where you need something that's a little bit stronger. Okay, so let's get into the 5 tools. Now, if as I'm going through this, even one of them sounds good to you, which they will, all I ask is that you hit that little like button, also subscribe to the channel so that you stay up to date with videos as they are released. So let's get into it. Tool number 1. Tool number 1 is to find common ground. Listen to these couple of phrases, which I'm sure that you will have heard before in a heated debate. Things like, "That's not how this works," "You don't know what you're talking about." Those things, they probably sound quite familiar to you. So it could be that you are leading a project and somebody's pushing back really hard. Now you get all up on your high horse and you start to argue the details. That's the wrong thing to do. By the way, that is the wrong way of dealing with things. Or you could ground the conversation by zooming out. And this is what common ground is all about. It's about getting you both on the same team. So you're going to start to use phrases like, "We both want this launch to go well, yeah?" Or, "We care about making this client feel really looked after. I think that's the real goal that we can both agree on, or that we can all agree on." So even if you disagree on how to do something, reminding another person or other people that you share the same common goal, it can change the emotional tone of the conversation. Now this technique, it works really well with stakeholders, with team members. It can even work really well with your partner at home. Because let's face it, we all want a nice peaceful weekend. We don't want to be having war on the hill of an IKEA flat pack instruction manual. Tool number 2 is to paraphrase to show somebody that you have heard them. So let's say that someone on your team is venting in a one-on-one that you're having with them, and you can see that they're clearly frustrated. Now, at times like this, you might find yourself starting to tense up. You maybe even start to feel yourself getting really defensive with the other person. So instead of instantly replying with that tension, you want to slow it down and you want to paraphrase what you've heard that person say. So a phrase along the lines of, "Look, just to make sure that I'm hearing you right, just to make sure that I understand you right, it sounds like you're saying that you felt left out of the decision. Is this right?" Obviously, you're going to put in whatever you've heard there. But using a phrase like this, it does 2 very powerful things. One, it helps them calm down because being heard lowers their defensiveness. And also it earns you the right to speak your truth without triggering a battle. Now, remember with this, you don't have to agree with their view. You just have to show them, you have to demonstrate to them that you've understood them. So the third tool is to pause when you are hitting a wall. What do I mean by this? Have you ever been in one of those conversations or a debate where it feels like it's going around and around and around in a circle? You're explaining yourself for the third time. It feels like they're just not hearing it. You feel your stomach starting to go really tight. You start thinking, well, should I push harder? Do I repeat myself again? Do I speak even louder? None of those things generally work. So instead, try pausing for a moment and then saying something along the lines of, look, I think that we're going around in circles here. Let's take a breath and regroup. Or, look, this topic is really important and I don't want us to keep on clashing. Can we just take a moment to reset for a second? So to really sort of solidify this in for you, let me give you a real world example. Let's say that you're with a client. The client is frustrated and they keep shifting the blame. Now, rather than you diving into explaining mode and trying to talk your way through everything, just pause for a moment and say, look, what's really important is that I want this to be a productive conversation and I want to solve the problem rather than being reactive. Can we just take a moment and revisit this, maybe with fresh eyes, maybe look at it from a different perspective? You see, that kind of way of dealing with this, that is emotional intelligence in action. It's not a weakness, it's leadership in slow motion. Tip number 4 is to stay focused. Don't chase moving goalposts. Now, I see this one happening all of the time. You could be talking about one issue, let's say it's timelines, and then all of a sudden the person brings up communication issues from 3 months ago. And before you know it, you're 4,000 miles away from where you started. You were packed ready for Hawaii, and instead now you're sitting in Alaska. Now, tempting as it might be to follow them down the rabbit hole, don't. So instead say something like, I hear that, but let's land this piece about timelines first. Then we can look at that other bit. So an example here, let's say that a team member's upset about a missed deadline, but halfway through the discussion, they start bringing up about how they felt ignored in last month's strategy session. So you could say something like, look, that's definitely something that we should talk about, but for now, let's stay with what happened this week so that we don't leave it unresolved. So what you're doing here is you're not shutting them down, you're showing them that clarity beats chaos every single time. Tool or tip number 5, and the final one for today, is never celebrate the win. Now this one's subtle, but it is really big. Let's say that you've been in a conversation, you've held your ground through this tough conversation, and the other person finally says, okay, I realize I made a mistake. Your brain suddenly lights up and you want to say, exactly, I knew I was right, I always am. You give them a bit of a eyebrow raise or that sort of smug little nod that you might do. Don't do this. This moment, it needs grace and not ego. Instead, you want to say something like, thanks for being open, I really respect that. Or, I appreciate you sticking with the conversation. So let's take a real world example. Let's say that there's a salary negotiation happening. If the other person finally sees your perspective, don't rub it in. Instead, build the bridge stronger. You see, when someone softens, your response decides whether they'll stay open or whether they're going to shut down again. What I've shared with you in today's video, they're not magic phrases. They're a way of you showing up with composure, clarity, and courage. And if this video has resonated with you and you want to dive deeper into the other tools that I share, then check out Mind Academy. There'll be a link in the description down below. But I want to leave you with this. Real leadership isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the calm amidst the chaos. And when you learn how to lead through tension with confidence, that's when people really start listening.